Good evening, everyone. My name is Laney Shaughnessy. I'm going to be your host this evening. If you haven't been here before, thanks for joining me. If you've been here many times before, thanks for coming back. I appreciate you. Tonight we are going to be working in Vectric Aspire. Now, don't get discouraged, you folks that have Desktop and Pro, because tonight I'm going to be drawing vectors, working with node editing, working with our drawing tools, and our join tools and things like that. Things that you can do in Desktop Pro or Aspire. The only feature that I'm going to be utilizing in Aspire is the tool building, being able to build models with it and everything. So everybody will get something out of tonight's class. And tonight's class is going to be broken into multiple parts because what I'm going to be talking about and doing is going to take some time. Not a whole lot of time, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take more than one class. We're not going to be able to finish the entire project in one evening. So that being said, hopefully people will start to pop in and want to learn something. And for those of you that are already popped in, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you. All right, let's switch over to camera 2. And let's put me down on the bottom corner. All right, let me see if I can tweak some things. Try to get a little bit of that square picture-in-picture out of the way. That should be fine. All right. So, here we go, here we go. All right. When it's all said and done, we are going to end up with a project very similar to this. This is what we're shooting for. Now, this project I built the other day from a reference image. And so this is an item that's, available for sale at Home Depot. I liked the way it was, the way it looked and everything with the scroll work, the metal scroll work. But I thought, well, if I'm going to carve it out of wood, then I want to be able to do the scroll work, in the carving as well too. But also, I want to be able to, model this from vectors. I want to use this reference image and be able to model it from vectors. And ultimately, we're going to end up with this three-dimensional model. It's not 100% exactly the same. Some of the scroll work in here I took out because I didn't think it was necessary for what the end result should be. And but this is what our goal is going to be. So that being said, let's go over here, and I want to show you the reference image that we're going to be kind of working off of. We're going to work off a this reference image here in order to develop our entire cross. And I've already got a model built just to show you kind of the concept, but we're going to actually do it from scratch. We're going to draw the vectors and we're going to create the model from scratch and everything. But I wanted to just kind of show you the concept image where we are taking multiple components and we're building them one step at a time, and each of those parts will ultimately end up making the finished piece. So hey Keith, thanks for at least dropping by and saying hi. I appreciate that. want to at least, you know, show the, you know, the concept of, you know, the parts that we're going to be building from scratch, and how those parts are going to be put together in order to, oops, not that one, in order to ultimately create, you know, this piece. I'm going to show you how to do that. My hardest thing when creating parts is scrolls. These kind of swirls here and everything. It challenges me, but as you can see, I can do it, right? And I'm going to teach you how to do it too. But it, my biggest challenge was always trying to figure out how to build, you know, these scrolls and all. And they're done in multiple parts as well. So that being said, let's turn everything off here. Let me minimize these. I'm going to start a brand new level. We're going to be starting from scratch tonight. And in level 4, this is going to be renamed my class model. It would help if I was typing on the wrong keyboard. My class model part 1. Okay. All right, so like with everything, it all isn't just cakes and rainbows and all. We actually have to build the part. Now we have to draw out the vectors and everything, and I'm going to use the image. The whole purpose of this class is how we can use a reference image to help us go from, you know, 2D to 3D when we're building models and everything. Now, first things first, on this image, when I'm clicked on it, it's all nice and bright and kind of filled in dark, you know, so I can see it. When I'm clicked away from it, when I'm not clicked on it, it's kind of grayed out and I might not be able to see the detail very much. Well, on the image, if I right click, I can get a menu here, and on the menu I can come down to Object Properties, referring to that picture's properties. And the only property the picture has is its fading property. So I can fade that picture in and out. And what I want to do is I want to turn the fading off. Whether I'm clicked on this photo or not, I want the fading off so it doesn't gray out. You know, so it doesn't, like when you're not clicked on a photo, it usually fades out. And then I kind of, you know, lose the detail and stuff depending on the photo and everything. So I want this fading to stay off. So I'm going to close that. And again, that's by right-clicking and going to Object Properties. And in the Object Properties menu, the fading is normally set, you know, like to default. We want to just slide it to 0 so this will stay dark. Now I'll adjust that property of that bitmap, that fading, as I'm drawing just to see the lines and stuff. But while I'm creating the lines, I want it kind of in its full clicked status, if you will. I want it to be like it's selected all the time. The next thing is we're going to start with the swirl is going to be where we're going to start. And once we draw one swirl, the others we can just make from that swirl by sizing it down or up or whatever we need to do. So we don't have to, you know, draw a million vectors and everything. We just have to kind of create some of the main components. So let's start here. And the first thing I'll do is, since we are working in the 2D right now and just creating the vectors, I'm going to start with drawing those out. Now, you can draw these vectors a lot of different ways. You can use the new freehand tool to freehand it. You can use the draw curve tool, draw arc tool, whatever you want to do. I'm going to kind of do a combination. So I'm going to use the arc tool, and I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to pull that arc just to get the rough shape. Now, these arcs, and notice I have one shape down here already started. Let me get into a different level. So when you do that, ladies and gentlemen, make sure the level you're working on is the active level. So let me come in and turn that layer, not level, layer. Let me start a new layer, my class layer, because my other layers have vectors on them already from where I was drawing earlier. Class layer part 1. Alright, we'll make sure that that's the active layer there. And we don't want any other layers on. So we'll make that the active layer. Now we can start again. So once again, with the arc tool, I'm going to create the rough shape with a series of arcs. And once I have all of the kind of arcs created for this, I'm going to end up connecting the lines, those segments. I'm going to end up, you know, smoothing them out and fine-tuning my shape. But for now, I'm just clicking in one place, clicking in the other, and then pulling the arc, and then clicking again. Now let me change the color of this layer to a color that we all might be able to see when we're drawing. Let's see if we can change it to... Red's hard to see because of the wood color in the background. Let's go... I'm looking at the computer screen to see what's easy for you guys and girls to see as well. Oh, these colors are all hard to see. Let's see here. Man. Alright, let me do this. Let me fade. Let's close this tool for a minute. Let me fade the image just a little bit. So right click, go to object properties. Let me fade it just a little to where I can still see it, but it's not faded too much. Okay, and let's see if I can pick a color that everyone can see. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Gosh almighty. On my computer screen, I can see the color really well. On the TV screen that I'm looking at where you guys and girls are watching, it's real hard to see. Let me know if y'all can see that yellow. The green pops pretty good, someone said. Alright, so that's yellow. I don't know if you can see the yellow when I'm up close, you can see it. But, alright, somebody said the green pops pretty good. So there's yellow. Let's try green. You all tell me what. I wonder if it's neon green or regular green. Neon green. Let's try neon green. Alright. Yellow or green for right now, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a vote in the chat. And as y'all are voting, I'm still going to continue with the arc tool. And again, the arcs are just for the purpose of giving me something to work with. Yellow is good, someone says. Yellow is good. Alright, let's try yellow out for a while and then we'll pop back and forth if we need. Okay, try yellow for a while. Alright, now I've got these arcs kind of created, but they're still segments. They're not a continuous line, and that's what we need, right? That's the ultimate goal. Alright, so I got some votes for green. We'll go back and forth, let me know. The segments and everything, the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the endpoints are, you know, together. I want to make sure the endpoints are together. And doing that, I need to select both lines, both segments. I'm going to hold the shift key down when selecting more than one vector. Let's get into here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the end points come together. I want to make sure that, like if I missed the end points, I want to make sure they come together. So I'm going to continue holding down that shift key, selecting the next line. I'm going to click this join by moving the endpoints to a common point of intersection. All that's doing is connecting these segments together. It's not smoothing them out or anything. It's strictly just connecting them together. Hold that shift key and do the next one and click on that button. And now this as a whole is one line. So this, and let me do this one here. And here, for some reason, it did not want to do the first time. This and this. Do it again. And again. All right, now that segment is all connected together. All right, yellow's good, okay. All right, now I'm gonna go into, now this is only one, this is just one, right? We've got lots of different shapes to still make. We got a couple more curves and all still to make, but on this one, we're gonna go into node editing. And because all this is currently right now is a bunch of arcs connected together. It's not really a smooth segmented line. So I'm going to, now that it's connected, I'm going to come over here and change this to a Bezier curve on this side and this side of the node. And I'm going to right click and smooth that node out. So now I can manipulate this line and everything. And I just want to make sure I have a nice curve there. And then same thing on this side of this node, I'm going to right click and make it a Bezier curve, and then on that node itself I'm going to smooth it so it kind of gets rid of any hitches or, you know, kinks or anything. And that way I can manipulate this, you know, however I need. And then again, on this side of the node, it's still an arc. I'm going to change it to a Bezier curve and then smooth that out so I can adjust this arc here. And then the last one, I'm going to make a Bezier curve and smooth that out as well. All that does is it gives me a nice little curve, and it gets rid of the hitch, the little, where my lines might have, my arcs might have met up at kind of a kink. You know, it kind of smooths that out and everything. And then this is just going to kind of dead end up here. I'm going to pull it a little bit more to the right. I'm going to kind of go about to the middle there. And I'm going up far. You see this kind of V's right here? We'll build that later, but I'm going to go up kind of far here. Now, my next part is to finish off the vector. Think of a 2-rail sweep. We're going to be using a 2-rail sweep. We need 2 lines to sweep a profile. So this first rail is the first line that I just drew. This first kind of swirl I just drew is the first. Now we're going to draw the second rail, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the arc tool, and it's going to start where the first one ended. And I'm going to pull that arc there. Now this one is going to go right along this ridge. I don't know if you can see this ridge right here, this kind of like hump right there. It's going to go right on the inside of that ridge. So I'm going to go one full line because I can go just 2 segments here. And I want to go kind of close to this one, and I want to pull it right on that ridge. Just so it kind of follows that ridge. All right, now I'm going to take this and this, these 2 items here, and I'm going to join them together, put the endpoints together in case I was off a little bit. And then I'm going to go into node editing mode and make this a Bezier on one side of this node and on the other. And then I'm going to smooth that point out, which is already smoothed out for me. It did it on its own, kind of. Now I'm going to adjust this to get kind of in that hump. You can kind of see the hump, that grayish hump right there. That's what I'm trying to get to. I want to move in just a little bit, or move out, should I say. Okay, so I'm going to be happy with that for my second rail for this top part. Now you have to think of this top part of the, when it comes to this kind of scroll, if you will, I always had a trouble. I always thought, man, how do they get it to be bulbous here, you know, at the top, but then they have it this negative here, and it's because it's two separate parts put together. So we have to draw the lines for the second part, and then when we create the components for both parts, they blend together, they merge together to create the one piece. And I couldn't wrap my head around it for the longest time, you know, just looking at it and not actually trying to attempt it and everything. And finally, you know, I was able to see a tutorial on it, and it clicked. It was like, oh, that's why. That's how, because you got to have the two parts. One's got to blend into the other. So on this part, think of this as kind of a curved shape, and it's kind of like a dome, if you will, right? It's got that dome shape to it, you know, so it kind of domes up. Not dome. It dishes. It's got a concave here, and so I need this model this component, should I say, when I build it, I need it to blend with this one. So the one rail for this part is going to be on the inside of this, because when that part gets made, I want it to be made inside of this. So I'm actually going to just use this line right here, and I'm going to hit copy and paste. No, I'm sorry, not copy and paste. I'm going to hit offset, and I'm going to offset inward just a few, in this case 10,000ths of an inch, and that went the wrong direction. Let me hit undo, Control Z. I need to go outward. There we go. And I need it to be just inside that yellow line. So it's right here, this second line right here, just inside there, just so that when the model gets, or the component gets created, it will merge with my other component, that upper level and everything. So that's going to be the one rail, and it's going to go all the way up to here, and that's fine the way it is. That's good. Then my second rail is going to be here on the outside edge. So now I'm going to go back to my curves, my arcs and stuff, and I just need to do it in 2 arcs. Now, we are using the image as a reference image. It doesn't have to be 100% exact. You know, you can make adjustments and everything. I'm going to have it come in just a little bit instead of right on the outside edge there. I'm going to have it come in a little bit. But on these 2 segments, I need to connect them together. So let's join the endpoints, and then I'm going to go to node editing just like before. Bezier on one side of the node, Bezier on the other, and then smooth that node out. And now notice that this comes in more right here on the actual part and everything, and I can get this to do that. But if it causes a kink in my part here when I build the model and all, because it's too tight or something like that, then I might not follow it exactly. But that's going to be good there. And here, I'm going to pull this in just a little bit. Okay, now I need a line, kind of a shape here, if you will, but I can't have them connect. But I do need it to connect to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my arc tool, and I'm going to connect from here, and I'm going to click close to this one, but not right on it. And I'm going to kind of create that for just a minute. I'm going to get up close and personal here. I'm going to bring the node where it's close to but not connected to. I'm not going to join these two lines, but I'm going to bring the nodes or the endpoints where they're very close with one another but not touching. Because I need it to be two rails. It's a two-rail sweep, so I can't have them joined together. But I do need it joined over here. I do need it joined over here. On these two, so I'm going to connect these two together. Let's hold the shift key. Let's get out of node editing for a minute, join this and this, and bring the endpoints together. And then in node editing, I'm going to make this a Bezier curve, and I'm going to kind of have this, it's going to be a weird looking shape, but it's going to come into this bulbous area a little bit like this. And because again, it's going to be low and it's going to be merging into this part. You won't even see it. Hey, Kool-Aid, thanks very much, man. I appreciate that. And also, for any of you that see that super chat, that's just a way of helping the channel out, man. Kool-Aid, I appreciate you, man. It's going to help out with buying parts and stuff. Okay. So now what I have here is I have one rail. Let me get out of node editing mode. One rail that comes from up here. It swoops up and over and it stops right there. Then I have a second rail that's here and goes up to there. So that's going to create this part right here, this concave part. Okay. And now, the fun stuff. All right. What I need is I need to import some vectors into my project. And I have created, I'm going to give you guys, guys and girls, a copy of this. But we're going to import a thing called Scroll Profiles, DXF. And let's see where they went to. They went to here. All right, let me take those. These are them there. Let's do an undo real quick. Undo. Let me take these and move them to my working layer so I can turn off the other layers. All right, let's move these up where everybody can see them while I'm kind of zoomed in and everything. And what I have here is let's put these on a different layer. Hold on a second, so we can see them. Let's move to a new layer. I'm going to call this Profiles. And we'll leave it black so that way everybody can see. All right. And so on these profiles, what we have are a variety of profiles scaling down. Basically, this is 100% of the shape size. Hey, Brooks, man, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much for the super chat. All right. So And then from here, it's this next one is sized down using the size tool, using the percentage option. It's at 85% of this size. And then this one is another 15% down. So it's 70% of this size. And then this one is 55% of this size. Now these numbers aren't, these are just my numbers, right? I needed a scale from larger to a smaller. And you know, it was either going to be 100, 75, 50, and 25. But 25 made it real small, right? And everything. So I ended up going 15%, you know, 100, 15% off that is 85, 15% off that is 17, 15% or 70, sorry, and 15% of that is 55, right? So that's my size. All of these are the same scale. And what they are is the original size was 0.6 inches wide by 7/16 inches tall, 0.47, roughly around there. I didn't really pay too much attention, just wanted to be rough that size. And then they were scaled down, and then this has a curve on it. So basically taking this shape created all the other shapes. In node editing, you delete this point, turn this into an arc, and then pull that arc into shape, right? So that's how that shape was created. Undo that. And then, or taking this and turning it into an arc, and then sizing everything down, right? That created this shape. So on and so forth. So there's a couple of curves there. There's a couple of concaves. And then there's some angles and stuff. So you're going to have a file, a DXF file of all of these. Let me get this all back to where this belongs. Okay. You're going to have this DXF file. It's called profiles. It's called scroll profiles. And we're going to be using a combination of these to create our shapes. All right, now let's split up our view here because we're going to be doing some 2D and 3D view. We're going to be building the part now. So we're building these parts. We're going to draw the vectors, and then we're going to build the part. Hey, no problem, Rob. Don't worry about being late. We're just getting started. We just drew some vectors, as you can see on the screen here, these yellow lines and everything. And things are just getting underway. All right. Let's turn our fading to none. Should be able to see that yellow a little bit better there. All right. So first things first, rail selection is important. Which rail we select first and which rail we select second when we're building components and doing 2-rail sweeps and stuff. But with the tool in Aspire, now this is an Aspire feature, this part, ladies and gentlemen, this is an Aspire feature. Harvey, I like greener landscape. I hope, Harvey, I don't know if you were answering someone else's question to you, but you probably were. And, hey, I hope you enjoyed the leftovers. Okay, we're going to do the bulbous part, the upper part first. So I'm going to select this main rail first, hold down the shift key, and select this inside rail second. Okay, so this one first, hold the shift key down, this one second. And in my 2-rail sweep tool, that's going to be my drive rails. Okay, now depending on which way the drive rails are facing and everything, we may have to go in there and reverse the rails, meaning having them face the other way. So the arrows are both pointing outward, so they're going outward and around. Or we may have them coming in. It just depends on the part. In this case, we need the arrows facing outward, going from the bulbous part around to the tail. And I don't know if you can see those arrows or not. They're really super hard to see, even on my screen, but their arrows are pointing in that direction. Speaking of arrow, let me turn on my, speaking of arrow, let me turn on my cursor. Okay, hold on a minute. Oh, bear with me just a second. I'll off my cursor tool. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Well, how in the world could I lose my cursor tool? Microsoft Office Tools is not there. There it is. It's duh. It's called mouse highlight. All I had to do was look in the M's. All right, there's my mouse. But anyhow, the arrows are pointing in this direction, so they're sweeping up from the bottom right corner of the screen to the top left, and that's what we want. Hey, Sylvia, how are you doing? So that is our two rails. They're selected. Now we got to select a profile. Now the first profile I'm going to select is this square profile. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to click my mouse right on this node. And you're going to see all these crazy cross sections pop up here. And this is going to kind of create the area of the cross section, the main part. But we're going to come over to our profile here, this top one, this curved one. And we're going to select that next. And out here over on this side of the bulb, we're going to click. And when I click on that, it's going to shoot this red line across the screen. So this yellow node is my second cross section, and it shot the red line over here. Now I actually need to grab the white end of that. So there's a yellow and a white. It's hard to see, but I need to grab that node, and I actually need to pull it around and close to, like zoom in, and I need to pull it close to, but not on, this node right here. Not on it, but just very close to it. And now you'll see the cross sections are more in this bulbous area, and they're not jumping across anymore. We don't want them jumping across. And you can see that they kind of, they're in between my two lines at different spaces. So that curved profile is going to be in this area. And now I need the same curved profile, but I need a smaller one. And I'm going to choose the third one. No particular rhyme or reason. I just want a smaller one. But this is going to be my third profile. You can see these numbers here. And I'm going to come over, and at the very end, I'm going to click on the button. It'll change that color, and so it's going to size when it sweeps around. What I've just done is, when this sweeps around, it's going to scale as it sweeps from the larger to the smaller profile. So as it gets closer to the tail, it's going to get lower and lower. So it's going to sweep around high, and then as it gets to the tail, it's going to sweep around lower and lower. So we're using what's called cross sections, and these are cross sections, our profiles here, and we're sweeping. We have a square form for our shape, but we want a rounded top, and we want it to sweep from the larger to the smaller one as it gets to the end. This is going to be the hardest part of modeling, especially in the two-rail sweep, is understanding the cross sections. And the cross sections, how the section is created. and everything, you know, and basically from this line here, from this line, that sweep is going to sweep from large to small. That profile is going to sweep from large to small because it's going to end there. And I'm going to show you, we're going to create just a square profile so you can see for reference so you understand. But we're going to do a merge. We're not going to scale the section here, and we're going to click apply. All right. Now, if you notice here, my profile is sinking in, not bulbous-ing out. It's sunk in. And as I come in here, I need to right-click on this line and swap the rails, meaning I need this one to be green and this one to be red. And when I do that, this should, when I click apply, bulbous up. Okay? So, rail direction is important. I clicked on this inside rail first, that made it red. The outside rail second, that made it green. And by doing that, it was taking my profile and reversing it. It was making it concave in instead of convex out. So I had to put the mouse over the rail and right click, and I had to swap the rails, make this one green and this one red, so that it did the opposite. It created that bulbous here. Okay. All right. Oh, let me get back into here, into shape. All right, so what we have is my profile, my big curve, that big curve right here, big curve, scaling down. Let me see if I can turn this. Big curve right there to little curve right here. So it's scaling down as it was sweeping across those two separate profiles. Okay, big to little. And that's what we need to do. Now, let's digress for a minute from this before we create the second part. I want to come over here on the screen, and I want to just teach a brief, quick lesson on cross sections and stuff. I'm going to draw two rails. I'm going to draw one here, spacebar, and don't worry that you can't see it, it's yellow, but I'm going to draw one here. Now, in a two-rail sweep scenario, when I select those rails, the first one I select, hold down the shift key, the second one I select, when I use those selections, the first one is always going to be the red one that you choose. You see there's green nodes at the top. Let's zoom in up close and personal here. There's a green node at the top. That's my line direction. So if I need to reverse the rail direction, I could have it down here, right? But we need to make sure they both match. You know, if they got to go one way or the other. And so I'll go back the other way, reverse and reverse. So they're going from the top down. And if I have to change the rail order, it means this one needs to be first, this one second. So this is red, this is green. It'll switch. Okay. Just depending on what it needs. And in my case, I needed to swap those rails. Now, let's grab a profile, and let's do the regular dome here first. We'll do this dome. And I'm going to come and click right on my first node. And you'll see these lines come up on the screen. These are cross sections. Okay. Now, that profile is getting swept from one end to the other. So, if I apply that, we're going to have this dome-shaped part, and let me zoom out to where it is. We're going to have this dome-shaped part that's the same size all the way through, right? But if I come in here and let's say I select this smaller dome and I come to the end of my line and click here, now it's going to scale as it goes from one end to the other. It's going to scale from that large to that small. So when we click here, you should see I start flattening out a little bit as I get from one end to the other, from that large to that small. Now, you have to understand something here. You know, it's, Lainey, your profile is kind of close and round. Why is this more flat and narrow? Is because my lines are wider, right? If my lines were closer together, I would be, you know, taller and wider. But they're spread apart, so it's kind of narrow and short. But my large profile sweeping down to my short profile, right? Now, what happens, let's say that I take a convex profile, and I make that my profile on one end, and I take a convex profile and make that on my other end, and I click apply, I'm going to go from concave to convex. So let's turn this around where you can see. So as it transitions, it's concaving or convexing here, but as it transitions perfectly into that convex, right? Transitioning perfectly into that convex. And let's say, just out of curiosity, just so you know, if I click here and I click here, and so round to square, let's go square at the end, down here, and click apply. It's going to go from round to square, right? So it'll be round here and square here. It's transitioning. Now, I can try to throw a loop in the middle, right? Throw a little goofball in the middle here. I can add more cross sections if I want. So let's throw it a curveball. Let's take this and right in the middle, let's add that right there. Now what's going to happen is it's going to transition from round to convex here, and then from convex to flat. Let's see. So it's going to transition from round to convex, where it's curving down, to flat. And that is how, using the multiple profiles, is how we get different shapes in 3D models. Like when flowers have curves, you know, they're bulbous on one end of the flower, but as they go into the petal, they're kind of flattening out into a concave, you know, at the petal and stuff. And we do that by transitioning the cross sections, you know, and we can add in multiple cross sections to get all kinds of different shapes. Okay, so in my case, I went from the big curve to the small curve on that shape that we're creating over there. All right, cool. All right, so that's kind of a little quick and dirty lesson on cross sections. All right, let me come in here and delete that. All right, now coming back here, you're going to actually see that transition because in this here, look at my shaft right here on this the base of this cross. It's convex, right? It's convex. It's curved upward. Okay, it's domed. But as it transitions into this kind of upper area here, it starts to concave, right? It goes from that arch and it starts to concave into here. And so that's what I need to happen on this part. So coming back, we're going to select, let's get onto our 2-rail sweep tool. We're going to select our inside rail, hold down the shift key and select our outside rail. the important thing is the order. Let me learn where my shift key is. And that's not the line. It needs to be this line on the inside. That inside line right there. The important thing to remember is which way are my arrows flowing? Which way are my arrows flowing? Am I flowing this way or am I flowing this way? If I'm flowing from the top down, what you see on the screen, top down, if I'm flowing from the top down, then I need to go that concave, transitioning into that convex. If I'm going bottom up, if my arrows are facing upward, then I need to go, my first profile is convex, my second profile or cross section is concave, right? I got to go from that in that transition, okay? So the in this case, when I choose the rails, right now they're going in to this section here, into here. And so I'm going to go, my first profile is going to be this large profile here. And I'm going to click on to create that cross section, right? And then I need to concave. I need to concave in this direction here, so it's going to be this one right here. This is going to be next. And I want it to be, you know, it's going to be, you know, kind of the same scenario where I'm going larger to smaller kind of thing. And I'll go to the third one here because I want it to get smaller as it goes. It's got to get lower. It's got to get lower, lower, lower as it goes under that bulbous there. And let me get zoomed back into the part here so you can see what happens. All right, so I'm going to be transitioning to this part here, so we'll make that there, and I'm going to merge the two together. I want to make it merge, and I'm going to click apply. Okay, now let's pay attention to what I'm doing here. You see it's backwards. You see my curve is backwards here because my rails are swapped the wrong direction. So I need to come in here and change the, reverse the rails, or swap the rail order. And then click apply. That'll turn that profile around. Okay. So I'm going bulbous here into that concave down below. Okay. Oh, let me get zoomed in so everybody can see. So we're concaving, creating that half of that, you know, that staff there into that convex, into that arch. Okay. All right. Now, we've built one part. Now we're going to kind of touch it up a little bit. Now, the one thing here in my component tree, here, I've got my two parts, my two separate parts. I'm going to be sculpting them, touching them up, smoothing up the edges and things like that. And if I do that, if I select these two parts and I start to sculpt them, the software is going to require me to bake the two parts together as one, the two components together as one. Now, it's like baking a cake. Flour and egg. It's not really a cake with flour and egg. You have to have other stuff. But flour and egg, flour and water, whatever, baked together. Once it's baked together, you can't really unbake it. You know, and I want to keep my two separate parts original in case I have to do some editing. So I have a cool tool that I can use. I'm going to select both of these, and I have a very cool tool up here that says that's called create a component from the visible model. So what it's saying is, from what you can see in the visible model, create a brand new model that looks exactly like it. Okay, one model. So when I click on that, it's going to create that copy of the visible model. I can now turn my two originals off, and I could give them a name and stuff like that. I'll just leave them component 9 and component 10. But I'm going to turn them off. And now what I have is I have a brand new model. This is an Aspire feature that I can create a copy of visible components. I have a brand new model that I can manipulate and work with, and I'm not destroying my originals in case I got to go back and make adjustments or changes. You know, I get along down the road and like, you know, I need to adjust that a little bit or do something different with it. You know, now's the time I can go back to my originals. But if I bake them together, then I have to undo, and undo all the work that I've done just to get back to there, you know, if I have to. So we create a copy. Everything's turned off but that copy, and now I'm going to go into the sculpting tool. Now here's where my hand is not the steadiest of hands when sculpting. It's like taking and sculpting clay. Sorry, I needed something to drink. It's like sculpting clay. And with the sculpting tool, we can smooth things out. We can smudge things, you know, push material around. We can add material where we need it. We can take away material, and we can undo everything we did. For my settings here, my diameter settings, I'm going to go for 50, 51. My power, I'm going to bring that down to about 20 on the strength. And on the smoothness, about 82 on the settings here. I want to keep my transparency and stuff. And as I roll over this, it's going to start smoothing out these edges and everything. Now, before I do that, before I start sculpting it, evening y'all, before I start sculpting it and everything, I want to bring the size down a little bit on this. So I'm going to go into the properties, this little spanner wrench here. I'm going to go into the properties, and I'm going to bring the size. Right now it's about almost a ½ inch tall. I'm going to bring it down to 1/4 inch. So I'm going to come in here and 0.25 and let that resize. Okay, so bring that down to about 1/4 inch there. Now I'm going to go into the sculpting. How you doing, Mark? Hope all is well. How was your podcast tonight, or how is your podcast that's coming up? Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to use the smooth tool, and all I'm going to be doing is, and don't hover on a place too long. Keep that brush moving, or it's just going to keep flattening it out and all. But I'm going to just start rubbing this top edge and smoothing this top edge here. Around the edge there, around this inner edge, on the top, smooth that out, come back. Now, when I'm smoothing this, I have to be mindful that my line, that ridge, sometimes I it can smooth it out too much, and it doesn't, you know, look as defined, or it doesn't look straight any longer. It might be wiggly looking and stuff, and just the way it smooths and everything. And so in here I've got a little bit of a hump. Let's see if we can. Now I got to twiddle my view to zoom in. Twiddle the view. But in here, I got a little bit of a hump and stuff, and the smoothing tool, all that does is it's just going to smooth it out. I'm going to try, without destroying this too much, I always have undo that I can do, but I'm going to try to pull some of that hump into this area here, and then I'm going to smooth that out I've basically kind of piled it all up right there. You can see it all piled up there. And I'm going to try to smooth that out a bit, like sculpting clay. Basically adding a little bit of water, and I'm kind of massaging the clay to smooth it down. Okay. All right. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that. And that's going to be my part here. Okay. That's going to be the part. All right. Now, let's go in and let's draw a line. I'm going to kind of get up close and personal here. I want to kind of be right inside on this line here. And I'm going to draw a straight line straight up. Snap to 90 there, boy. Snap to 90. There we go. I don't know why it wasn't snapping. Space bar to finish. And I'm going to take that line and I'm going to extend it down. And that's going to kind of be my center line. And I'm going to take my part, my model, and I'm going to hold down the, I'm going to select that model. I'm going to hold down the shift key and, oops, let's try that again. I'm going to hold down the shift key and select the line. It doesn't like me right now. It does not like that. For some reason, it's not wanting me to select that line. Okay. Stand by. I don't know what was going on, but it was not letting me select that line. But anyway, we are now going to mirror this, and we're going to flip about the line. Now, flip about the line is not active because it's most likely going to be because it's touching other lines. Let me see. Let me bring that down just a little bit so it's not touching any lines. There we go. All right, let's try this again. Select that and that. Mirror and flip about line is now on. So because it was crossing over other lines, it didn't know which one, even though it was selected, it didn't know which one to flip on. So we're going to go ahead and flip that. Okay. Now, notice we have this little protrusion there, guys. That's because it's set to add, not merge. We need to merge. Easy. Merge. All right, so that way those two parts blend together like that. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right. All right, so there are our two parts. Okay, next, let's do the leaves. Now the leaves are easier than the little, those swirls. Those swirls, ladies and gentlemen, they are the bane of my existence. Now, I'm gotten pretty good at being able to make those, right? But I'm still not perfect. There's this one guy, I don't know who it is on video, on YouTube, that he doesn't have any sound or anything in his videos. He's just drawing, you know, picture to 3D model and everything. And he does scrolls and stuff like this in some of his videos. No talking whatsoever. He's just going on. You just got to watch and figure out what he's doing. Watch his mouse very closely kind of thing. But his always look perfect. His swirls and everything, I mean, mine are a little rough around the edges. You know, the transition, this arc isn't as nice and clean as I'd like it. His are perfect, like right out of the gate every single time. I don't know how he does it. But you get as good as you can get, right? And, you know, you just practice, practice, practice. Okay. Now, the leaves. You have to think about, even though this leaf here is hidden underneath this scroll, there's still a leaf there. There's still kind of a full arc. So when we draw this, let's go, let's get back into full view on the drawing for now. We've created our part and everything. I can even, for right now, I'll come in to my modeling tab and turn that layer off for a minute. All right. So here, I'm going to start at the bottom of this leaf and I'm going to come up, assuming that it's going to be somewhere in here. And I'm going to pull that arc for that side of the leaf. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I don't want to go the full arc. Well, I could go the full arc there, but I need to make sure that this goes inward and doesn't, you know, expose right there. So that arc, I'm going to change that arc in node editing to a Bezier curve. And I'm going to pull this in just inside and pull this out like so. And on this one, I'm going to pull this out like so. All right. That's going to be my shape. Now on this one, this is just kind of a slant. You know, it just slanted down. So when I do my 2-rail sweep, it turned my model back on. When I do my 2-rail sweep, I'm going to select that and that. That's going to be my rails. And then on the profile, I'm going to use this profile right here. This profile here. And let's go to a split view so you can see what gets created. And we're going to merge that in and click apply. Okay. The leaf here, I need it to kind of scale. Let's see, let me turn on the scaling here. Let me see if I'm wrong on that thought process. Yep, no, that's what I need. So this one I had to scale the cross section with the width, so it creates a consistent flow there. Okay. All right, so on that one, I'm going to close out of that tool. I'm going to click on that component and this component here, and I'm going to give it a little bit of base height. I want to raise it up a little bit, but now I got to be careful that I don't raise it up and I don't want to be able to see any part of that leaf come out of here. I don't want to see it poking through, right? So I'm going to go into the properties, that spanner wrench tool, and I'm going to give it some base height. I'm going to give it a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, now when I gave it that 1/16 of an inch, that was a little bit too much, you know, a little bit too much. So let's bring that down some. I just want a little bit of base, not a whole lot. Okay. I'm good with that. Now, this part that's right here, that you can see here, needs a little bit of fading, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of fading. So I'm going to turn on fading. Now, when I'm using fading in the 2D view, I just have to draw a line on which way I want the fade to go. So your first click and your second click, where you want to start, where you want to go. I want to fade from right to left. So I'm going to hit the set button and I'm going to click here and draw a line straight across here. And by default, it's set to 50%. You can see that fading went away. You know, it made it disappear there. Now, I don't think I need a full 50%. So I'm going to back it down to about 20%. And I want to see if I see it sticking up at 20%, which I do right there, right? But it's so small. So let's go 25. 25. Still there. Let's go 30. Good. So just need that small fade. All right. So there's part 2. Let's go ahead and on this part, let's select it. Select the line. Hold that shift key down and select the line. And then mirror flipping about the line. Okay. Now, these parts don't quite touch one another. And I'd like them to kind of crisscross. And I've also like them to come up a little bit more. So, I'm going to undo that. Control Z. I'm going to undo the flip for a moment. And this is where I'm going to deviate from my model a little bit. I'm either going to scale the size of this up and over, you know, kind of thing, so that when the parts do flip, when I flip about the line, and I need to bring it up some too. I want to size it up about like that. Now, got to be careful when I size this up. I got to be careful because I'm sizing. I got to be careful that I'm not poking through my, you know, my other part and stuff. You know, getting a little thick there. So I've sized it up. I'm happy with that. But I need to go back into my properties here. And I need to change my size. So I'm happy with that. But I need to bring that down a little bit. Okay. All right, let's flip that. Mirror, flip about line. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to learn the cool effects of merging low versus merging high. We don't really get to talk about that too much, and on one of these days I want to do a class on it. I did that with Mark Lindsay's group and everything. But you see that where I'm overlapping here, those parts are sticking up. This leaf is sticking up over here. This leaf is sticking up over here. On these two parts here, I'm going to create a new level. And I'm going to rename this level my class model. Part 1 -A. And I'm going to take those two leaf components and I'm going to put them up into that level. I'm moving them out of the level that they're in. I need these two models to interact with one another independently, but then that level that they're in needs to interact with the level below, and all the other parts, they need to play nice together. So for the combine mode of the level, how it combines with the level below it, I'm going to change it to merge. I need it to merge. I need it to merge. Just like they're merging right now, but I need it to merge. But these two parts, they have to interact differently with each other. So how the level interacts with the level below is different than how the models inside that level interact with each other and things. So we're going to come here and change this combine mode to low. I want you to watch the screen over here. Let me get zoomed in. Okay, watch here. We're going to combine mode to low. Combine mode to low. And what's going to happen is it's going to keep the lowest part of the two parts. So it's going to blend them together. So it's going to keep the lowest part where they intersect. Where those two parts intersect with one another, it's keeping the lowest part at the intersection. It's getting rid of the higher stuff. It's removing the higher stuff. Okay? So it gets rid of that. And it brings it to that low. Cool, huh? Cool, cool. Very, very cool. Okay. Now, we're just moving along. We're cooking with some gasoline. All right. So now, I've got those two parts. Wonderful. And the next part is this leaf. And again, we're going to imagine that this is a full leaf here. It's just underneath all the rest, right? So let's turn off our levels for a moment. Let's hide some things. And let's go to our drawing tools, and I'll use the arc tool again. I'm going to start at the end here. And let's go up to right about there and pull that arc over to here. And from the end here, same place, pull that arc there. All right. Now, on this profile, this leaf has kind of a ridge in the middle, and I'm not going to use any one of these profiles. I'm going to make up a new one. Yes, low is awesome. Low is awesome. So we're going to make a new profile. So I'm going to take my arc tool, and I'm going to span right in the middle of my leaf here. I'm going to span all the way across, straight across, and then just a slight curve. Very little. How much this curve is depends on how fat my part is, right? How big my curve is determines how tall my part is. So I want a slight little curve. And then there's a ridge right down the middle of this leaf here. It's hard to see, but there is one. So I'm going to take a circle, and I'm going to, in the kind of the middle of my part, I'm going to draw a small circle. Let me see. Good enough. All right, now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to combine this part here, this, and this. I'm going to join that as one shape. So that's going to be one shape. Now, you see I was long on this side, short on this side. I need it to go all the way to the end. It's very important. Very, very important. So, I'm going to go into node editing and pull this back to this line. Node editing and pull this over to this line. Okay. All right. 2-rail sweep. We're working that 2-rail sweep tool tonight. 2-rail sweep. We're going to select our first left side, then our right side, and use that as our rails. We're going to select our profile that we just created, and we're going to scale it with the cross section, sweep it between the spans, and merge. Merge, create the component as a merge. Let's get into a 3D view so we can see what's about to get created here. Click apply. Okay. All right, so now let's close that tool and let's turn off our two leaves, or two side leaves, for a minute. Almost look, if you were building a little fly, a little beetle, or a little something, you could do the same thing, right? That was the wings. But this is our leaf that was created, and there's that little ridge. Right? So that's kind of our leaf. And how big the arc is determines how big the, you know, how tall this is and everything. All right, let's turn on our other parts. Okay. All right, now on that leaf, I'm going to select the leaf and go into its components. And I want to change the height on this. I want to give it a little bit of base height. I want a little meat underneath it. So I'm going to go 1/16 of an inch of meat. All right, let's try that again. And the important part is that I don't intersect, you know, too much over here. If I turn the part off, you can see I'm just coming out right there, and that's kind of fine for me. I'm okay with that, because my handle, or this rest of this leg, is going to come down over that. But if I didn't, because it is in the same component, I could combine that to low, and it would, oh no, sorry, can't combine that one to low, because that is the lowest thing. Don't do that. Don't do what I was about to say. Sorry. I could fade, fade, not go down to low. Take my fade and set that, and go from here to here. And I'm going to turn that fade down dramatically low, because it only needs about 10% of fading. Oh, a little more than that. What I'm looking for is right up here, that little bit of red right there. That little bit of red there. So let's go 25. Good. So 30% fading. All right, so that'll get rid of that. All right, so now this is our shape so far. Okay. Now I've gotten a pretty good ways, and I've got all these individual components, right? So I want to be able to work with one component at a time. And everything. So I've got my originals here, but what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll start a new level. I'll call this level Class Model Part 1-B. And I'll make that level active, and then what I'll do is in that active level, I want to set it to merge, combine mode merge. But I'm gonna, every part of my visible model so far, right here, everything that's checked and visible, I want to make a copy of it. Copy of that visible model. And now I can turn off all of my originals. And by the way, I don't have to go in and check all of these one by one like I'm doing. If I had 1,000,000 of these, I wouldn't want to do that. What I would do is I would come up here and I would say, show only this. And it'll just turn off all the check marks on everything else except for that. So now this is one component right here. This is one model. It's not the individual pieces anymore. The individual pieces are down here. This is one solid baked together kind of model, if you will. Not really baked, but it's one component. It's a brand new copy. Now, in this copy here, I'm going to give it a little bit of base height, the whole thing. I'm going to give it about a 1/16 of an inch. Got that 1/16 of an inch in my head right now. That's what I want to use. But I really want to just kind of lift this up a little bit. You see that right there? Now, the whole purpose of that 1/16 of an inch there is eventually, probably do it right now, I'm going to add a bit of a draft to the whole thing. So let's go to the draft, 22.5 degree, and that's going to take all these straight edges and angle them out by 22.5 degrees. So that's why I gave it a little bit of base meat, so there's something there to draft. And then I'm going to hit save, because I haven't saved any of this stuff that I've been doing, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so I mean, heck, we are we're cooking along here. With this part, we might, you know, I don't want it to be too long. I don't want tonight's class to be too long because it's a lot to absorb. It's 8:39, so we've been at it for about an hour and 15 minutes. All right, so what you can see is that little bit of draft here on the sides. It just kind of puffed everything out a little bit. Gave it a bit of draft there. All right. And that is going to be, let's call it the tip of my spear, right? So that's going to be the tip of the spear there. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this cross in its entirety. And let's really see what's happening here up here. I've got it cut off, but let's import an image. Okay, and let's move that up here. Now, paying attention, that spear that I've got created here, it's the same spear, just size smaller, that's on the left or the right side here, the left side here, and the top side there. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just got to scale it down a little bit to make those 4 copies. Okay, so once I've created that, now I can scale this and copy it around 4 times to create those 2 pieces. So what does that leave left? That leaves my round shaft kind of right here in the middle, that round shaft, and then it leaves this part right here. So this kind of middle cross right here, which is made up of these kind of U-shaped little swirls. One there, one there, one there, and there. And then this kind of humped shape here in the middle. So all I have to do is recreate this part, and then I can copy that around 4 times, and then create this part, and I can copy that around 2 times, and then just create my little shaft here. I've already got these. I can just extend them. I've got them right here. I can just to kind of extend them. Or I could recreate them. It doesn't matter. We'll recreate another one on this. Not a big deal. But, and then that, you know, that's done, right? So there's not a whole lot to do. Let's stay with the lower here for a moment, and let's create this shape here. Now I'm going to get rid of this image. I just wanted to show you in a full kind of what's going on there, right? But let's go ahead and get rid of that and go back to here, because all I need on this is this lower picture. Even though it's cut off here, I still can create it just from this. Here, that's all I need. So the next part is kind of this scroll. So let's do it again. Arc tool, and again, I don't have to do this. I already have a copy. I can just drag the copies up, but I want you to see, right? So we're gonna start here, pull it to here, and pull that around. Let's go into the 2D view. We're going to come over here to somewhere over here and pull that up. We're going to come here down, pick a spot anywhere and pull that out. We're going to come here over to here and pull that down. And then from here to here and pull that about like that. All right, now before we move on to the other side or the other swirl, the other connection, this and that, we need to connect these together. So hold down the shift key, select this and this line and that line, and put the two ends together, make sure they're touching. Select this line next, click on that join by bringing the two endpoints together. This one next, and this one next. Now again, you don't have to do it this way. I'm using the arcs because it's a little bit easier for me to control, but I could use my freehand tool and just draw that in one continuous line, right? I could use my curve tool, whatever tool works for you to get the job done. For me, it's the arc tool, and then from there, in node editing, I can come in here and turn this into a Bezier curve on both sides of the node, and on my points there, and bear with me a second. I inserted a point when I shouldn't have. All right, one more time. Bezier curve. Okay. These two ends did not join together. So let me do it again. Same thing here. For some reason, that tool is just giving me a fit today. Okay. Those are all joined together. Wonderful. Now I can get back in there and smooth that point. Turn this into a Bezier curve and smooth that point. Turn this into a Bezier and smooth that point. It's already smooth. So just one more. Okay, now I can fine tune my shape. I am I'm going to go straight up Okay, so there's my first shape. Next shape is going to follow this ridge just like we did before. So curve tool. Again, get close to but not connect. We're going to start from there to here. Whoa. Undo, Control Z. And this one I should be able to go all the way up to here. All right, when I connect these two together, I'll fine tune that line. So come in here and join them together, and I'm going to change that to a Bezier curve. Smooth that point out. It's hard to see in here, but I'm happy with that. That'll be fine. For this, again, this is just the image is to help guide me, not really be exact. I want to be right on this ridge. Right on this ridge. All right, I'll settle for that. While I'm here, just in the drawing side and everything, I'll go ahead and draw the other two lines that I'm going to need. Remember, this one's already drawn, so I'm going to copy and paste it. No, that's a lie. I did that last time too. I'm going to offset it. Offset it. I'm going to go 0.010 of an inch. Okay, to create that line right there. Okay. And in node editing mode, I'm going to smooth out some of those points. I'm going to pull this line over. Now, what you just saw me do was there was quite a few nodes. There was quite a few points that was created when that offset occurred. And I wanted to remove those points. And I used the curve fit tool. There was a bunch of them. So the curve fit tool minimized it down to just a few. Okay. I'm going to be content with that. Now on this one's a pretty straight shot. So I'm going to go full on arc here, and I'll do a Bezier curve to adjust it. But I'm going to go into here. I'm going to go all the way up to here. Get the arc somewhat set, and I could have just done a Bezier curve, but I'm just going to convert this to a curve. I am good with that. All right, now, again, I need to connect a line over to bring it close to here, but again, I don't want to connect with this line. So when I come over, I'm going to come over close, but I'm not going to join the two together. And I'm going to make this curve kind of look something like that. All right. Now we're ready to create parts. So let's go back into the split view. How you guys and girls doing? Am I putting you to sleep yet? Are y'all still with me? Let me know. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Are you enjoying things and all that jazz? All right. Piece of powder. Okay. Let's start with our shapes. So first we're going to select this line. Hold the shift key down and select this line. If you remember last time, I selected the first one first and then the second one last, and I ended up having to reverse the rails, right? So now I've reversed the rails in my selection. So this one first, this one second. And in my 2-rail sweep tool, that's going to be my selection. Okay. Coming over to the profile, I'm going to go with the square profile first. And that's going to be my main profile right at the intersection here where the two intersect. And again, you're going to see all these crazy cross sections get thrown up and stuff. All these insane cross sections. It's not until my next cross section comes into play, and it comes over here on the bulbous side, and it's going to shoot that line all the way up to there. Now, as I grab the other end of that red line that gets shot up from that second cross section, as I grab it and drag it close to my subject, did I? All right, I've got to delete that cross section. I've got to do that again because I screwed up. So let's select that. Let's click out here. Find my other end. Drag that other end down and around, but not on. Down and around, get in up close and personal with it. Drag that end of that line close to, but not on. Now, as I start to grab this end and bring it around, it's going to start adjusting my cross sections and everything, and they're still kind of wackadoo. So I need to reverse my rails. I need to reverse my rails so that they are inside of my lines. You can see now that that line is close to that center point, not on it, over here. And as I adjust this, my lines are inside that bulbous area. And then the rest of them are between my two lines. They're not all over the place. They were all over the place because of the wrong direction. The arrows were going, they were going out and around, and they should be coming in. All right, so we want that bulbous area just like that. Now my smaller one, I'm not going to go micro small, I'm going to go here. That is it's gonna transition down to that at this end. So it's gonna go from my large sweep to my small sweep again. All right, let's zoom out so we can see what gets created here. It's gonna be a merge. We're gonna turn off the scaling with the cross section. We're gonna turn that off and click apply. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Now, create a new component. Come in, select this line, hold down the shift key and select this inside line right there. Oh, hold on. I gotta join. These two lines aren't joined together. This has to be one continuous line from here to here. Okay, one more time. Select that. Perfect. Shift key, select that. Next, great. This one is going to be my what is this shape? It is concave to convex to concave. So here, oh, let's first go back into the 2-rail sweep tool. Ladies and gentlemen, hold down the shift key, select that line, then that line, and that's our selection. It doesn't want me to, there you go. Alright, it took a minute to select that line. We're going concave. That's where it's going to start. To convex. And I want it to get smaller as it gets closer, so we'll go here. And which ones you pick, I mean, you're going to get different results depending on which ones you pick and everything. I'm going third one in, and that's going to end there. All right. Merge. Click apply. Okay, once again, my rails are backwards. I did that last time too. It's backwards. It's turned around like 180 degrees. So I need to just pick a rail and right-click and swap the rail order. Swap. You don't reverse the rails on this case. You want to swap the rail order. Reverse the rails would be if it was kind of a convex versus a concave kind of thing. If it was upside down or something or backwards. But this is just, it's flipped around. So reverse the rail order and then click apply again. Okay. So it's concaving into that. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to close that tool. We're done. In this same level here, I'm going to select my two parts. Show only this. And then I'm going to turn on the other part here. And just on the visible parts, I want to make a new copy of those two parts. So they're one now, a copy. They're not baked, it's just a copy of a new part. So I can turn those off. And on this new part here, I'm going to go into the properties, and again, I'm going to bring it down to 1/4 inch. Okay. And before I go any further, I'm going to make sure it's the only thing visible. And I'm going to go to sculpting. And I'm going to try to sculpt this again. I'm going to smooth out the edges and everything. And this is where I always kind of, you know, make it look funky and all that stuff. But let me see if I can get up close and up front there. Let's maximize this view. So everybody can see. All right, with the smooth tool, I'm going to, right on this ridge, I'm going to run over this ridge. And I still have that, I always get that little ridge. I'm not sure why I get my little ridge there, but I'm going to take the smudge tool. I'm going to get down in there, make it real small. And I'm going to see if I can pull some of that into that corner a little bit. And then go back to the smooth tool. And smooth it down. All right, not going to play with that too much. End up with that shape there. All right, let's turn on our other parts and everything. Okay. Now, let's go back to our 2D view. And that center line, I want to keep that center line that's here. I need to now move it up. I'm going to hold down the alternate key. Let me undo that, Control Z. When I grab that, I want to hold that alternate key down so it stays in line where it was. And I'm going to take this component, I'm going to select that line, and I'm going to flip about the line. Okay. I'm not concerned that I'm not, you know, the same on this side and everything. I am kind of in my center point there. So again, this wooden model behind this reference is just a reference. It's not, you know, it's not going to be my exact. I've still got to build all my other parts and everything. But I'm centered on my components here and stuff where I want to be and everything. Now, the next part is going to be 2 lines. I'll use a rectangle to make it quick and easy. It's going to just kind of come down and overlap. Okay, and on this, I'm going to go into node editing and I'm going to delete that bottom line and the top line, so it's 2 separate lines. It's called a span. So now I have 2 lines. And I think I'm going to make this line a Bezier curve. I think I want to follow that curve ever so slightly. Bezier curve. So it flares out. All right. Now, 2 rail sweep once again, ladies and gentlemen. So we're 2 rail sweeping it again. Cool, cool. Save, save, save. Somebody says, good. Thank you. Save, yes. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, save early, save often. You get into it and you kind of forget, but it's important. All right. We're going to 2 rail sweep this. The Rails are going to be my selection, and it's sweeping upward, and that's fine. It's going to be one particular shape. I'm going to go with this shape here. And merge that in. Let's go to the split view. And let's click apply. Okay. Part's a little tall right now. Let's see, my lines are going, so let's do this. Let's reverse the rails so they're going the other way. We'll make this our first, and we'll make this one down here at the end. Click apply. So that way it'll taper down as it goes, and I can use the fade tool to help me as well. That's good. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to use the third one in. And then I'll just use the fade tool to help me just kind of blend right into that and everything. Still got to use the blend tool and all. All right, wonderful. All right, now if I use the load tool, it's going to, if I set that to low, it's not going to be, it's going to be wrong. It's going to be, you know, kind of getting rid of things in here and stuff. So I'm going to use merge. I'm going to come into the properties. Of that component. I'm going to lower the height. Oh, let's go a little higher. Four, 3, 7, 5. I just want to get it somewhat close so I don't have to fade too much. All right, so that's almost got me there. I will, let's go a little bit. Let's go 0.44. Okay. Now, the coming out to this shape here, on that sweep, I should have really actually been in a little further. You know, I shouldn't have come all the way out to the edge. I should have really kind of been in a little bit further and everything. Bringing this in a little bit more on the sides so it's more of a flow. So I want to, after all that work, I know what size I need to be, 0.44, but what I want to do is I want to change my rails. So I'm actually going to delete that component. And I'm going to change my rails. I don't want that coming out to the outside of these. I want to bring it in more so where it's more inside, more in line here. So more of this outside shows. So I want to bring this in, and I want to insert a point and make this a line. I want a straight shot. Now I want these two nodes to be in line with one another, so I'm going to select this one first and then this one second, holding that shift key down, and I'm going to hit the letter X left to right to shift that line so it's straight. I'm going to bring this in past this shadow right here where it's dark to where it starts lightening up, the lighter part. And just a slight curvature. So just a slight curve. Now, since I've been flipping about this line and everything, I'm going to get rid of this rail there, and I'm going to get out of node editing mode, and I'm going to select this rail, and I'm going to flip it about this line. Since I've been using that line to flip on, I'm going to flip on that line. And then I'm going to use a 2-rail sweep. I'm actually going to use more of this profile where it's just straight up and then it's just kind of slightly rounded there. Use more of that profile. And click apply. I want to scale the cross section with the width also. So as it gets wider, I want it to, you know, scale it with it. Whoa. Merge. Merge, not add. All right, you can see my downfall here. I could have saw my downfall right there by looking. Let's reset that if I would have paid attention. All right, I'm going to delete this rail. Why copy what you can paste or whatever? Why draw what you can copy? Let's draw this one. I've got to, it's got to, you know, blend in. I'm going to make this I'm going to smooth that point out, make it a Bezier curve. So it's going to kind of bulge. Now I don't want to smooth that point out because if I change that, it changes this. So let's turn the smoothing off on that. All right, let's mirror that over. I don't know how that's going to come out, but we're going to find out. All right, 2-rail sweep. Merge. Apply. Okay. Let's try this smaller one. Okay, starting to get the shape I want, and now it's starting to really define to me what I want. This needs to come in like it is, a little bit more here on the sides, flare out just like it is here. When I smooth that, that'll look good. I need to raise it up there. That'll be the wedge, that'll be the tilt. It'll be the tilt. Bring that up there. But I need this to kind of come out. I need it to flare out more a little bit there. So, just one more time. Last time. That's how we learn things. I need to close this tool. Okay. I want this line to actually come in just on, just on the edge here, but then I want it to flare out to here. So I want to have it flare out to there. Let me insert a point. Make this a line. So I want to cover this edge. I'm going to cover this edge with my shape. I want it to be, this to be hidden inside of it. And then I want this to come in, because I want this to show, I want this to start showing more and more and more and more to get that edge there, this upper ridge, right past this point. So right about there, I want it to kind of start crossing over. All right, this I'm happy with the way it looks down below. It'll look good when I smooth it all out and everything. Now let me mirror that over again. All right. And then after this will be the end of part 1. We're going to end this about 9:30, so in about 9 minutes. If y'all have any questions, now's the time to start typing and asking them. We're going to flip the about the line. And 2-rail sweep. We're going to go with this shape here. Merge. Scale with the cross section. Apply. Okay. Let's turn off the scale with the cross section and click apply. See if it's more of a, there we go. Yep. Good. All right, now close this. Go to the properties. Go to the properties of this part. And I'm going to tilt it. Tilt. So I'm going to tilt this. Where you click first is the thin part of the wedge. Where you click last is the thick part of the wedge. So I want to click here first, thin part of the wedge. Down here last. Well, first of all, let's try that again. Tilt, set. Click here first, here last. It's like sticking a wedge under this, and this is the thick part of the wedge down to the thin part of the wedge. As I change that level, you can see in the 3D view, you know, that wedge getting stuck underneath, right? So I want to just break the surface right there. Don't worry about that. There. Don't worry about that. You'll see why. Okay. Next component. We'll do that one next. Hold on, let's go up here. This component here. We're going to do a fade. And I'm going to go from the tip of the spear up to here. Okay. And it's not going to be a 50% fade. Okay, so 3. Wait for it. 4. Okay. Close that. All right. Now, the up here, that's going to be, let's do this side first. Fade. And I'm going to fade from here to here. And that fade is going to be about 20. And then the same thing, fade, set from here to here. All right. Now, let's go in and make this visible model. Everything you can see right here. We're going to make a copy of it again. Copy. right click and show only this. So this is now a copy. We're going to go into sculpting. Let's twiddle the view. And I'm going to tilt it, instead of straight on, I'm going to tilt it just a little bit so you can see what's happening here. All right. You should be able to see that. Kind of focusing my attention on this upper area. We're going to do a smoothing first. Give it the same amount of love on the other side. All right, click OK. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that is going to be our part 1. Right now, I am modeling. Anytime I create a model, Harvey, so that's a good question. What model resolution are you at? I always create a model unless I'm selling it. If I'm selling it, I'm using the maximum resolution. If I'm doing something for myself, or something that can be shared, that's great resolution and everything, I generally work in extremely high. So that's you obtain those extra resolutions by holding your shift key when you go to the job setup and dimensions tool, and it shows you those additional. But we're working at extremely high for the modeling. And if I wanted to switch over to the maximum, it would regenerate that model in that maximum view, but it's not really going to make too much of a difference. All right, let me go back to the extremely high. That way it doesn't buffer or anything crazy like that, which it shouldn't now with this new setup of mine. But okay. So you're seeing the edge details here in that maximum view. It's much tighter and stuff. But I can now, on this as a whole, if I wanted to go over and smooth the entire thing once over, let me see what was. Give me a second. Something got added. Make sure nothing else is turned on here. Puffed up like a balloon. I wasn't sure what was going on. Big Daddy Fish jumping in with the super chat. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Oh my goodness. You guys are helping me out. Helping me out. Helping me out. Okay. All right. So let's add a little bit of smoothing here as a whole on all these edges and everything. I don't want to go too crazy just yet because there's still a lot more to build. But all right, we'll leave it at that. Okay. So this is our, as of right now, this is the lower half of our cross. The shorter part of that, which is this part right here, the leaves and this lower part, not this upper, that part will make up the four sides of the cross when we come back and revisit this. But we're going to leave it at this tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This will be part one of this multi-part series, and we're actually going to we're not going to wait a whole 2 weeks till next Tuesday. We're gonna do it this coming Tuesday. Join me again, and we'll finish this up. But hopefully, you enjoyed what you saw so far, and you got something out of it. The one thing you will get out of it is these profiles here, the vector, the DXF of all these profiles here, that will be available in just a few minutes when the class ends. It'll be available for download. You'll be able to download the DXF file of these profiles. And these profiles can be used to create all kinds of different shapes. I mean, we haven't even, touched a lot of them. You probably won't use all of them for what we're doing here. But I do want to give you a little sneak peek of next week before we say goodbye. The spirals, we're going to be utilizing, when we do the spirals and stuff, we're going to be utilizing a gadget. It's called the spiral gadget. If you don't have the spiral gadget, in your Vectric software, go to the gadget library and download it for VCarve Desktop Pro or Aspire. It's a pretty cool tool, and basically the spiral gadget creates like perfect spirals, and there's different kinds. And I'm not an expert on spirals, but there's the golden ratio spiral, the involute, Archimedes spiral, and logarithmic, and your width, how many times it spins around, and your arbitrary only affects logarithmic and evaluate. But depending on what your settings and everything are, it's going to create these spirals. And so, like for instance, this spiral here. And now imagine if I rotated this and kind of sized it down a little bit just to be realistically. We're going to, that's going to help us create this spiral. And then, there's another spiral on the other side of it. And we're going to basically, we're going to end up mirroring it, flipping it, flipping it again. And it's going to end up connecting. I'm not saying how or where or whatever. It's going to be sized smaller. And there's going to be a straight line. We got to straighten up some vectors. This is all next week. But that's how we're going to be creating these spirals, which you can't really see. But again, if we look at the from the class, you can see this spiral coming around and around, right? Around and around. And so we just create that one spiral and it gets mirrored around 4 times. That's how we're going to create those parts, right? So we have the lower half here. We got the upper half, the whole shaft here. All we have to do next week is create this middle part, make some copies of this around here, and then create our spirals to create our finished part. And you're going to get to see all that next week, next Tuesday. We're going to be using the spiral gadget to help us with these spirals that are underneath, along with the single rail extrude and weave tool in the drawing. All that next week. Be sure to come back and join me. Hopefully you liked this class, and hopefully you got something out of it. And we'll wrap it up next week. All right, Doug. Thank you, Doug the Doll, man, for that super chat. I appreciate that. But if you don't have the gadgets, some of the gadgets, you know, are pretty cool. Box making gadget, spiral gadget, and things like that. Go download and install the gadgets. But ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate here. Desktop folks, sorry, if you have Vectric V-Carve desktop, you don't have access to the gadget library. So that's only Pro and Aspire. I'll teach you guys and girls, if you got desktop, come back next week anyway. I'll teach you how to draw spirals without the spiral gadget. But the gadgets are only available for desktop or for Pro and Aspire. But it's very easy. I'll teach you how to draw it from scratch. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, we'll see you next week, Tuesday, same time, same place. Doug, Big Daddy Fish, Kool-Aid. You know, I appreciate all of you very much for the super chats. And if I missed any questions, let me. I'll look in the chat if I missed any questions and everything, and we'll go from there. But Brooks Martin, Kool-Aid, Big Daddy Fish, and Doug the Doll, thank you all for your super chats. I appreciate the support. See you next week. Bye.